Hi, I'm Snez, personal trainer, healthy lifestyle coach, and your guide to feeling your best. This podcast is a segment from my weekly radio show, Wellbeing Wednesdays, broadcast live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. It's all about sharing real, practical tips to help you move more, eat better, and live healthier without the overwhelm. Let's dive in, shall we? Coming up next, I have a question for you, whether you've ever felt this way, and it's going to hold the keys to what I'm about to talk about next. And the question is, have you ever eaten something and felt hungrier not long after? Like your meal actually triggered your appetite instead of satisfying it? Or do you feel that even though you are consuming meals that you feel should be satisfying and that you have had enough, you are still feeling hungry throughout the day and consistently thinking about food or feeling hungry or feeling like you need to fill a gap? And it's not your imagination. There are some foods that actually do stimulate hunger rather than shutting it down. And I'm going to unpack in this segment why that happens, what types of foods are the culprits in this particular situation, and what to do instead so that you can feel satisfied and in control of the quantities of food and the frequency of food, which I will talk to you a little bit about what is a general guideline for most people in terms of the choices that we should be making. So if we start with some of the science behind it, when we eat, our bodies are supposed to register fullness through hormones like leptin, through insulin, and through ghrelin. And these receptors can come from distension or a stretching of our stomach. It can come from the glucose being digested in our cheeks. And there are lots, it's the chewing that occurs as we are eating food. There's lots of different ways that our body has registered that we've had enough food. But certain foods can disrupt these processes and can disrupt these hormones as well. And so things like ultra-processed foods like pastries, especially white bread, sugary cereals, especially if you are starting the day with these foods, they cause a rapid rise in blood sugars. And then your body releases insulin to bring those blood sugar levels down, but it often overcompensates and creates an exaggerated response and taking the blood sugar, the sugars out of the blood to a level that's too low. And there is a rapid rise initially, but then this overcompensation causes a huge crash, which makes you feel tired, foggy, feeling that feeling of fogginess and not being able to think clearly, but most importantly, hungry again very soon after. Cravings kick in, usually for more sugar or carbohydrates. And the thing is that our meals should take us out for at least 3 to 4 hours feeling satisfied. And if you're finding you're having your breakfast and, an hour or two later you're looking for a coffee and something else to eat, this could be a big part of the reason why. The other thing that happens is that foods that are low in protein, that are low in good healthy fats and are low in fiber don't activate your satiety hormones effectively. And satiety is just that feeling of being satisfied with food, that we've had enough food. So you finish eating, but your brain hasn't received the I'm full message yet. And that's where, again, it can lead to extra consumption of food that we don't necessarily need. The other thing is that many processed foods are engineered to be, how can I describe it? It's like bliss point perfect. The ideal combination of salt, fat, and this isn't good fats, and sugar that keeps you reaching for more. These foods override your natural hunger cues, and they are specifically designed to allow your body to want more and your brain and your thinking to want more food and to overconsume, which basically serves only one group of people, and that is the people that are creating the products, and it does not serve you at all. So that's that hyper palatability of processed foods. The other thing is liquid calories. So things such as juices, soft drinks, even smoothies, you need to be so careful about smoothies, they don't trigger the same chewing or digestive signals. So we need, in order to register that we feel satisfied with food, that chewing action needs to actually occur. And when we're consuming a lot of calories through liquid drinks, your body doesn't get that chewing and those therefore the digestive signals that come as a result of the chewing. So you don't feel full the same way that you would if you've consumed whole foods. And this is actually quite a tricky situation because, in particular, if you are trying to reduce the quantity of the foods that you are consuming, and if you are sticking with foods that are low in protein, that are highly processed, that are liquid drinks, all of these types of foods can continue to allow you to feel hungry. So it becomes a real strong conversation with yourself and an argument with yourself to eat smaller quantities of these foods that are making you want to eat more. And it's in those situations where we can feel deflated, that this is too hard, that we're never going to be able to lose weight, that this just doesn't work, that you're too hungry. And then you can have that feeling of feeling like a failure because you've reached for some extra food, or you've said to yourself, no, I'm not going to eat anything now until lunchtime, and those hunger cues just keep going, and it gets to a point where you give in to that craving. And just remembering that a lot of these processed foods are designed to create just that experience in you, and you're owning that as your lack of self-discipline or willpower when it really is quite a difficult thing to override. So what we want to do then instead is get rid of some of these foods, but pop some other foods in that are going to make us feel more satisfied with food. So therefore you will naturally eat less. You will naturally have a bigger gap between meals, and the struggle genuinely disappears. So rather than feeling bad that you don't have the willpower to reduce the quantities or go a little bit longer without food until the next meal, all of a sudden, all of that disappears. The constant the food noise also disappears, and you feel a lot better about yourself because all of a sudden you feel in control. And it isn't necessarily going to be about the quantities, but it's about the type of foods. So let's take a look at now, well, what are some of those foods? So to feel truly full and stop that constant snacking, your meals need to be protein rich, which is going to help with satiety, but also with muscle maintenance, which is great. They need to be full of fiber. So the fiber will slow your digestion, and it keeps your blood sugar levels steady. So it means that whatever you've consumed is going to take you longer to digest it, which basically gives you the feeling of feeling fuller for longer, which means you delaying the next meal quite confidently and not having that struggle. Also, whole foods is something that you need to include more of. So whole foods trigger natural fullness cues. They usually need to be chewed a lot more than processed foods that can be softer or liquid form. And the whole foods reduces cravings because of the nature of whole foods. They're higher in nutrients that your body needs and is actually asking for. So it fulfills that need for hunger and what the body is actually asking for in regards to nutrients. So some examples of some satisfying meals and snacks could be things such as rolled oats with some protein powder, or yogurt with some berries and some chia seeds. It is a simple combination, or a boiled egg with some avocado and some grainy toast. So think about what you could be having instead. So going to look now at what are some smart food swaps that you can make throughout the day. So if your typical day starts with white toast with jam, for example, or butter, or Vegemite, something like that. Now, the white toast, and in particular the jam, it's really high sugar. It's heavily processed. There's not a lot of nutrients going into that breakfast, it is going to lift your blood sugar levels up very quickly and get you feeling hungry throughout the day. And in fact, it's going to set some irregular blood sugar levels for the rest of the day that may allow you to struggle. So what you could do instead is you could just get a grainy sourdough or a whole grain toast instead of the white toast, for example, and you could make your own jam with a very simple raspberry, chia seed and maple syrup mix that I always talk about. Or you could put in some peanut butter or some almond spread on that. Or you could go your toast with some avocado and an egg, for example. That changes the dynamic of your body and how you function throughout the day. The next one is a muesli bar. Now, muesli bars, again, are heavily processed. They are generally loaded with sugar and other bits and pieces that are designed, again, to allow you to continue to feel hungry. So instead, ditch the muesli bars. I remember years ago, actually, teaching how to read packets. I remember I had a whole worksheet, and I haven't given one of these worksheets out, I think, for like 15 years, I don't think. But it was a worksheet on how to decipher the ingredients and how to know something's a good option. These days, I'm like, if it's in a package, just get rid of it and try and find a substitute. And muesli bars are one of those things. Yes, they are a quick and easy option, but so are grabbing a handful of almonds and a piece of fruit. And you can pack that at home, or if you are going into the supermarket, you could grab that from the self-serve nut sort of bar that's usually found in most of the supermarkets these days. And you can just grab literally a piece of fruit, grab yourself a pear and a handful of almonds, and off you go. But low-fat fruit yogurt, there's so many things that's happening with these yogurts that need to be completely swapped out. Firstly, the low-fat. The full fat is a lot more satiating. Usually low fat means more processing and more sugar. And so what we could do instead is just get your full fat Greek yogurt, which is something that I have most days, with some berries and some seeds. I love pumpkin seeds through my Greek yogurt, but I have that with carrot sticks instead of the berries. Then going to look at smoothies. Some smoothies can be quite high in sugar because they're basically fruit. And the way that we can make that better is add in some vegetables into that mix, add in some chia seeds, which is going to add a little bit of protein, some healthy fats, add your protein powder in there, add your oats in there. So just bulking up the nutrients that are coming into those smoothies is really quite important. And I would look, the smoothies from the takeaway smoothies that you can order are great, but I'd still be trying to have them with a serving of nuts or something like that. And even some of the smoothie places also have bliss balls, a nut bliss ball. I would definitely be pairing that and having a smaller cup of the actual smoothie and then adding some bliss balls in there. But rice crackers or corn chips, that sort of thing, this can be my downfall at times, I must say. But make sure that you're combining those rice crackers with something like hummus or cottage cheese, or having whole grain crackers, or even brown rice alternatives to these rice crackers is going to be good. But bowls of cereals. Cereals, again, can be heavily processed, high in sugar, lacking in nutrients. You can swap that out and have it with some oats, with some protein, whether that be some eggs. You could even have oats with eggs. I've seen this happen before, or with some yogurt, or with some protein powder, some nuts and some cinnamon, for example. A glass of juice, swap it out for a piece of fruit and a handful of nuts, or a packet of potato chips. That is another one that they are the perfect combination of salt and fat that are so moreish and kind of want you having more, and it is quite hard to stop at the amount of serving sizes per packet, which if you've never looked at that, when you buy a packet of chips and if you have a look at the back and there's 4 serving sizes in it, that is not to be consumed in one sitting. So stick with the serving sizes and combine it with something else, such as you could, or swap it out completely for roasted chickpeas, homemade popcorn, but I'd be combining that with some sort of a protein something, whether it be a handful of nuts or seeds. There's lots of things that you can do, as well as there are chickpea chips now, and they are definitely a better alternative. But I think the biggest point is just to, if you are noticing that you just can't stop snacking, or that food never quite fills you up, or you feel that food noise is always there calling at you, it's not a lack of discipline. It's about choosing the foods that work with your body, not against your body, so that satisfy you rather than making you feel hungry. So swap out your ultra-processed foods, your sugary or low-protein foods, for real whole foods, meals that keep your blood sugar levels steady and satisfy your hunger. Thanks for joining me on this segment from Wellbeing Wednesdays, as heard live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might find it helpful, and subscribe so you never miss a show. Want to catch the live broadcast? Well, you can tune in Wednesdays from 12 till 2 p.m. on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM, or find my info on Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, the Facebook group. Take care, stay healthy, and remember, it's the little choices every day that create big changes. Talk soon.